What are we talking about?
So today I think what we're going to talk about is some night vision dual tube specifically. I've got my old school stuff. Oh, shit, zip it back up. That was almost a bad accident.
I didn't even
I'd have cried on that. But luckily a guy could get me some new set for warranty work.
That was you. See this one that I handle?
Okay.
Completely secure?
It's completely secure.
I didn't touch it before it comes full circle.
That's probably a good thing to say is you had nothing to do with this. Yeah. So these are mine. I've had these for 25 now, so I've had these for 6 years. These are DT NVGs. They're pretty stout. I've had not really anything go wrong with these. These have been actually really good set. They've got the IR illuminator built in. I don't know a ton about night vision, so that's why I brought this guy. What's your name? Yeah, what's your name? Because I don't know much about this stuff. So
I'm Joe
Halloran. Joe, what do you do?
I work for Tactical Night Vision Company.
Tactical Night Vision Company. All right.
20th anniversary year.
Oh, that is important. Yeah. That is important. I had literally been buying night vision from you guys since 2008 because that was when I bought my first stuff.
That was my first purchase.
Was it? I did because I started buying LaRue tactical guns. I am a LaRue junkie. I'm not gonna lie. I've got some of the really cool things they've made that make no sense, but they aren't on any guns. They're in a display case because that's about what they're useful for. But that's what got me in because they sold a kit with you could buy
the IR illuminator.
Well, no, I didn't get the IR illuminator, but I bought the PVS-14 mount, so it'd mount behind my red dot, and it'd click over and it'd flip back and forth. And then I bought the first TNVC PVS-14 little kind of starter kit that they've got or had back in the day. But it's been working ever since my TNVC. I've been solid with them since, so that's where I get all my night vision stuff. And
so what is TNVC?
Yeah, what is TNVC? I don't know. I just always call it TNVC.
Tactical Night Vision Company?
Oh, is that what it stands for?
It's totally what it stands for.
Okay. Let
me see. Night vision and accessories?
Those are my old ones.
So, okay, I'll answer Zane's question. So TNVC, Vic DeCostello is the owner. Long career, former law enforcement, used to work at DARPA. He's got a great big brain. He actually bought some night vision and got scammed way back, probably in 1999, 2000. He was like,
they existed back then too. Huh?
Well, no. So TNVC didn't exist yet.
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the scammers. They
started
back then.
Absolutely.
Okay,
yeah, that's
the market's full of them.
That's a historic fact. It's probably the third oldest profession. So Vic got so upset he formed Tactical Night Vision Company to not only provide low light and no light technology.
Straight out of anger, huh? That's exactly how I became a gun dealer.
Awesome.
I became a gun dealer because of anger of how I got treated at a gun store. So that is so
not only for the equipping, but he set a goal for education as well, which is why the training branch exists. But like his number one priority, he says, is education on how this stuff works and what it does. Josh was talking about this is the DT NVG by that's Acton Black. Yeah, Acton Black. This is
that sounds right.
As well, that's who does the DT&BS. We'll get to that here in a second.
Okay.
As the market kind of blew up for commercial night vision stuff, starting in around the early 2000s, actually, it's been a thing for a while. You didn't have a whole lot of options. You had like the PVS-14. I'm talking about quality options, not like Warsaw Pact Soviet stuff.
My
PSUs.
My Starlight scope ain't legit anymore.
Well, that's Gen 1. That's
okay.
that's like your granddaddy's.
I wish I had one. No, I don't have one. No.
So you had PVS-14. You could probably get some Anvis, some aviation goggles. If you were lucky, you might be able to get into some surplus articulating PVS-15s. But as the technology grew and the market for these things grew, Acton Black, this was one of the first fully articulating, fully featured binocular systems that hit the commercial market. It has a bunch of the features that of course, night vision is driven by it's an aviation requirement that came to the ground, and then it kind of got driven by the mill.
Sense.
But this is still a fully featured, awesome goggle.
Yeah, I mean the technology. I don't think it's gone too far past this. I mean,
so
at least in these basic.
You've got
ones.
do you know what kind of?
They're L3 unfilmed.
So you've got L3 unfilmed, Omni 7.
That's what I was looking to see if I could
late
find
Gen
specs.
3 tubes.
I think they're in my factory case, not this TNVC one.
PVS-14 optics, which are kind of the standard. Like we use We use Glock as the standard. Does the holster fit? Does the Glock fit in this? Does it fit in that? The PVS 14 optic, and like when I say optic, I mean the objective lens and the diopter lens or ocular lens.
Yeah, notice that that's an option when I'm buying accessories for it. It's always asked is a PVS 14 style or some other style, and this one's been real simple.
And that's the mil-spec Army unit, PVS 14.
So we got to be careful because I don't know how much time you got. How much time I have.
Hey, as long as that battery doesn't die, we're good.
Yes. The lens, this objective lens has been around for a long time. This was on the PVS 7, the weird
single,
and
two eyes.
Then it prism split into your eyes.
Yep.
And is what we had at the time. I mean, I started on PVS 5, so you can Google that and
yeah,
see
I'm gonna have to because I'm not familiar with 5.7s. I had a buddy with a set of 7s.
I was stationed in West Germany.
Okay. It's PVS 5.
There were 2 Germanys once.
Yeah. I know. I've seen some HKs like that before that they're marked, but.
Right.
I definitely, or SIGs even. We had some SIGs, I think, come through before that had West Germany on them.
So the objective lens is from the 7 and just kind of carried over because, military requirement. We're going to want to keep using some of the same stuff. And as the PVS 14 is a product upgrade, monocular, and we could put it on everyone's head. So these did become kind of the standard PVS 14 style optics for anyone who's building goggles, with the exception of L3 Harris, who provides the image intensification tube, which is where all the magic happens inside here. L3 Harris makes their own 14, but for the PVS 31, which a lot of people are familiar with, the 1531, which is a kind of a broadened scope, more feature-laden PVS 31, they make their own proprietary objective and diopter lenses.
So that's usually the new, when I'm looking at accessories for this, that's the other option there is like...
Finished L3 products will have L3, with the exception of the 914, which is the PVS 14 that they produce for the government,
right,
for the Uncle Sugar. Their other binoculars, the PVS 31 up through the Charlie model, I believe. Don't quote me on a lot of this stuff.
No, you're good.
The
good.
PVS 31 Delta is totally different. And the 1531 is a different size and shape of the diopter lens, closer to your eye, and the objective lens, farther away from your eye. That's the only difference. Everyone that's building goggles or designing housings for other companies to build is using PVS 14 lenses, usually by
makes sense.
Carson Glass. I can't recall who makes the RPO lenses. I'd have to Google it or call somebody at the company because I do training, not like builds and such. But the DTNVS...
this is only 35% correct information that we're sharing here today.
Well, if you want to talk about the application of technology, it's going to be 100.
Yeah, okay. I'm good with whatever you want to talk about.
But these goggles will... Something to remember about night vision goggles, well-built night vision goggles from quality companies, and TNVC's at the top, not just because I work there. We can explain that later if you want. I don't work there. I kind of work there. I work...
You're kind of remotely, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't have to work, so it's kind of like... My son calls it a jobby.
A jobby.
Because it's a hobby.
Okay.
Well-built Gen 3, reputable housing, reputable tubes, reputable glass, reputable builder manufacturer. These are lifetime investments. They're not they're not fragile, but they're delicate. Like you don't want to throw them against the wall. But I've fallen down flights of stairs wearing my goggles on multiple occasions.
You fall a lot, though. So,
I do.
Okay. One of the questions
durable.
then, that we get asked about is like, well, how long are they going to last? And you're saying that's not something I need to upgrade, like the thermals. It seems like, man, we order thermals right now.
So remember, thermal's a camera.
Yeah,
it's not a...
No, I know, but it's just like the technology.
Analog.
What I'm saying is
analog.
We literally buy a thermal as soon as it drops. It takes them a few months to get it to us. Mm-hmm. It shows up in the store, and they've already launched the new model before I've even got the new model that was new on the showroom. It's like it's already got a new model, so mine's obsolete already. So we've actually kind of killed back on offering thermal stuff at the store. We special order it when the customer wants it, just because it's too hard to.
Fast.
So that's like everything.
But,
right?
but is that same thing with night vision industry? Or is night vision a little different?
Well, why can't we have both? The answer is yes. So bear with me for a second.
Gotcha.
When I say lifetime investment, if these were the only goggles you ever bought, you bought them 6 years ago. About 20 years ago, the military determined that we need a standard for how long your image intensification tube will work before it has a noticeable degradation in performance. And the Army determined it was I think it was 10,000 hours? 10,000 hours of constant power. That's 417 days.
So it's about 7 years for me. No,
417 days with the goggles on constantly, right?
Yeah.
I've been wearing goggles for over 30 plus years, 35 years.
And you haven't hit that number
And I've
yet?
never hit that number. And then here's the kicker. That metric was set decades ago.
Before the technology kind of got to where it is now.
Yeah, and they get nothing but better. L3 tubes, and I'll talk about Elbit tubes too. Elbit makes really good image intensification tubes. Not the goggle, the image intensification tube. Looks like a stack of quarters. So it's this big. It's this part right here.
TNVC, are all theirs L3 or are they using Elbit also?
So we're L3 exclusive. TNVC is the largest is the largest consumer of L3 image intensification tubes after the DoD.
Okay.
Now, Elbit, we've built goggles in the past with Elbit tubes. When Elbit's capacity catches back up, fun fact about Elbit, they have the contract for the Marine Corps' PVS-31 Delta.
Roger.
So they're building that for the Marine Corps. That's the Marine Corps' fully articulating bino. The production's catching up, and there's a lot of flux, whatever, FLUX in the image intensification world. But L3 has the capacity to put that stuff out. Does that make sense?
The reason I was asking is we're direct with EOTech also. We do a bunch of EOTech optics, and I don't think they use L3. I think they're Elbit, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right?
Well,
I think that's what I was told by EOTech.
Yes, and
Elbit tube.
EOTech's got another image intensification source that's not U.S.
And we need to make
It's not to the west. It's the Far East. It's a European source.
Okay, that's
there's
good.
there's some
Good stuff
problems
comes from
with,
Europe area, but you keep going, it gets questionable.
There are some issues with capability and throughput.
I don't know if everybody's on the
fix
same
it.
page, so we're going to share this. EOTech and L3 used to be together.
L3 used to own EOTech.
They are not together anymore.
Haven't been for a
L3 is completely on its own, and EOTech is on its own. So that's why I asked about the EOTech using an Elbit tube, because they're not going to use an L3 tube now that they're split companies and they're not working on the same roof anymore.
I think since I started paying attention to it, L3 and EOTech have been married and divorced on a couple occasions.
So it's just a matter of time, basically.
Yeah, I mean, and not for nothing. I mean, L3 Harris makes the best image intensification tubes. I mean, from a purely objective perspective.
I know that's what I usually look for, but it's just because of what everybody's told
Elbits
me.
are great, and the different. But I mean, L3 is they're the 600-pound elephant, gorilla in the room.
Yeah, if it's elephant, that's a pretty small elephant.
Right, that is small.
Okay.
But so it's a capacity and a capability perspective that drives us to L3.
Okay.
And they're the biggest performer, and we have a long relationship with L3. And the other fun fact about L3 Harris, of their portfolio, about this much of it is image intensification.
Yeah.
They'd rather be doing like hypersonic weapons, lasers, fucking warp engines, shit like that. That's satellites.
At the hospital you have the
L3?
X-ray machines,
Right.
And all the way
This
to
is just a
airport,
byproduct
yeah.
of their other big brain technology stuff.
It's like, why not make these? Because the machinery we've already got makes
They have
these
a
anyway.
purpose-built facility. Like, they've taken the tech so far that they have a facility in a location I won't name that only does image intensification.
Yeah, you're going to end up disappearing in a black van with a bag over
No,
your
I
head.
know what I can talk about.
He's being very careful.
But they only do image intensification, so they can from 10 years ago. Tubes made 10 years ago will last for 50 years. You'll give them to your kids.
Yeah.
But the tubes made now are exponentially. It's an Occam's razor thing.
Cool.
Like, they're 10 times as better. It's like.
That's just, we get a lot of people that come in and they're like, man, I can buy it, but it's like, I've heard that they get worn out, or
They don't.
it's like,
They don't.
or then there's the difference we haven't even hit on,
Yeah.
filmed and unfilmed. Like my unfilmed, they're not going to last as long, and it's like,
There's so much misinformation when it comes
that
to
is the internet.
Remember,
has its perks, but this is the downside of
We
it.
go back to Vic's number one priority, the owner of TNVC's number one priority is education. That's why he runs a training department. He lets us run the training department, and we have the support of a company like TNVC to get the education out there. In addition to, it's a company that's an L3 distributor, prime distributor, and manufacturers. From a builder perspective, and this may sound subjective because I work there, the best made goggles out there because of how we build, where we build, the warranty associated, customer service. That's a rat hole we don't need to get down. Specs, filmed, unfilmed. The difference between filmed and unfilmed is there are technological leaps. That's all. We're seeing you can still get filmed tubes, but they're generally going to go out to foreign military sales or government contracts, things like that. So, in short, without going into the full class, you can go to TNVC training, tnvc.com/training, and sign up for a class. 2025 classes.
We've all working here taking the classes. They're well worth it, all the way up to Night Fighter 201. It's definitely worth the time.
So they're leaps in technology, image intensification, gathers light, amplifies it, lets you see in the dark. Superpower you can buy. Check. I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about Gen 1, Gen 2 because that's old shit.
Antiquated.
Yeah, Gen 1 was the Germans and us in World War II and Korea. Gen 2 is the Starlight scope.
Right.
And the PVS 5 and the PVS 7 started to transition to Gen 3. It was a change of the image intensification tubes, but we'll talk filmed and unfilmed. The way these things work, light comes in this way, dances around in here, and magic happens, and is amplified into your eyeball. The big brains at L3 figured out that we were losing electrons. Do we see electrons or photons? We see electrons.
I don't know.
They're converted into photons in the microchannel plate, photonic barrier, and then converted back into electrons. Okay, so we would lose.
That's why you're here, because I have no
Right,
idea.
I know it's fucking nerd speak, and makes my head hurt
Yeah.
to even think about it. The bottom line is the magic would happen in here, but we would lose light bouncing out the front, the objective of the goggle. So they applied. I call it a sticker, a film,
Okay.
and it's a quark thin, but it is a literal film that they applied to the front of the image intensification tube to keep that light from bouncing out.
And that's the thin filmed option
That's
you see for
thin
sale a lot of
film.
time. Okay.
And we're seeing less and less because there's no like there's no demand for a 1984 Fox Body Mustang really, unless you're a nerd.
I mean, there's some guys that like those things.
Right, I know,
That's
but
their deal.
okay, there's nerds. There's nerds that like anything, any
There.
twisted,
I've
weird,
got-
whatever.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've got plenty of my own. So.
Right. So we fast forward a couple years, probably in the 2010 region, and those same 600-pound brain people figured out that when they put the film on there, there's a small degradation in the image you see. Now,
That makes sense.
caveat, because it's a physical barrier.
Right.
Yeah.
The caveat is, much like flashlights, your eye can only see so much light. Everyone's like, this has 1 billion lumens. Your eye can only process about 1,000 lumens.
Yeah.
That's it. You can't tell the difference after that. And then candela, it's about 65,000. Other than that, you just can't tell.
Right.
Your eye can't process it. You
Kind
can,
of the same thing with silencers and the hearing and
yes,
all that.
you can
get
throw
to a
it
certain
farther.
point, it's-
Like more powerful lights let you push the light further, but your eye can't really process it anymore. Same thing was happening here, but there is a degradation. If you have a filmed here and an unfilmed here, you can tell the difference between the image. I'm not saying that a film tube is bad. Unfilmed, they pulled the sticker out and they magnetized the micro channel plate, which is one of the many slices of technology. It's the
Gotcha.
furthest to the rear. So that hoovers, it sucks the light into the tube. And you get a
Ooh,
far
everyone
more
thought
better,
of that, yeah.
right?
And that's especially prevalent like in super dark scenarios, right? Not a lot of
It
ambient light.
processes the light, it amplifies the light better.
Yeah.
It gives you a better seeable image, which leads us to things like white phosphor was developed. There's unfilmed green phos tubes. We have green tubes because the human eye sees 5,000 shades of green. That's why we went with green.
Okay.
We collectively. White, it's actually like light blue, and you've got white. Are there white in there?
These are white pins.
Yeah. So it's really like a light cyan blue. It was developed when we started chasing people around in caves in no light environments. Goggles need light. It's a higher contrast, and it processes. It's a better image processor. There's filmed white and.
Well, why is it? It's almost a light whitish bluish tint.
Yeah,
I would
it's
say.
like a cyan, but it's close enough to white. Everyone just calls it white phos.
Okay.
Phosphor, not phosphorus.
And how the tint of that blue, does that have anything to do with how good or bad they are, or just all of
Nope.
them happen to me? Because
It's
I've
just-
noticed I've looked through some that have more of a bluish tint than a white tint, some that just have more of a white tint. So
Of the magic that happens in making the image intensification tube drives the the
So
different shade, and
you can have a different shade out of the exact same setup. It just one is a little bit brighter than the other.
Yeah. I have some information that I can't discuss on how they're made.
It's like a thumbprint, though. Everyone's a little bit different.
Or the shape of your ear.
Okay.
Exactly.
Fair.
So that's filmed and unfilmed and green to white. At the end of the day, I wore green tubes for 20 plus years, 30. Hell, I never put white on until I retired from the Army. So I wore green for a 32-year career in the Army. Never felt under-equipped. Then I have white tubes in my own personal goggles now. I have a set of green tubes. They're on an extended loan with a good friend.
I'm a good friend. Can I loan some?
No, sorry.
Okay. Sorry.
This is a circle of Pat Rogers friends. So.
Oh, okay.
I mean, you rate, but not that much.
Okay.
So I mean, long story short, circle back around.
Yeah, we
This
still
set
haven't
of
even touched
goggles.
our next set that we're going to
This set of goggles is great, fully articulating, auto shut off. It's got an onboard IR illuminator, CR123.
The illuminator's not great. I'm gonna throw that disclaimer out there. Every helmet I use in the dark has a
So-
external.
So the illuminator on your
for
goggles, and we get this a lot in class. The illuminator on your goggles is for like
map reading.
reading a map, assessing a threshold.
Who reads a map anymore, though?
Well, guess what? In a PNT denied environment, you better get good at it.
Really? Okay.
Position
I
navigation.
figured they all the little flippy down computer thingy, and it just tells them where
That's
to go.
not a map. And
What?
when all that PNT
Yeah,
shit
but-
fails,
Yeah, I just
You gotta
figured
read
that
the
it
map.
lights up though. It doesn't. It's a screen. It's digital.
yeah,
This is just the lighting.
you still have
Lighting
to
on it.
read the map.
Well, reading the map. Yeah, but
I've used it for opening gates.
Yeah.
Gates.
Yeah.
Is that
So
when-
it's a-
is that when you're out poaching?
Yeah.
So the
Throw that one out
illuminator
there for you.
the illuminator on your goggles is for short range assessment things. It's a task light that like arm's reach.
Makes sense.
The illuminator on your helmet. You have
This
on
one
here?
doesn't, but I've got one right here actually, so you can show it.
The illuminator on your helmet, slightly more powerful. Oh, this is in-force.
That's one.
Oh,
Oh.
dirty. Do you have a vampire head?
No, I don't have a vampire. And then here's another one.
You know we sell them, right? The HMTL. Aren't
It
you a
works,
TNVC vendor?
it works better when you guys, hook me up and give them to me, and maybe it'd be on there. But
Okay.
this is another helmet. But Princeton Tech makes some lights, so we can just say, but this little light's
Okay.
about the same
You
as.
want to talk about helmets?
We can talk about whatever. That's the
Okay.
cool thing about this, because we can even chop this up and make it 4 videos if we want.
Right.
As long as you
Let's
want
talk about helmets for a minute. We talked about the illuminator on your goggles. That's a short range task. Figure the end of your arm.
Okay.
Okay. For mid range IR illumination tasks, this is the view from Joe's fighting position. This isn't. I try to be less dogmatic the longer I'm in this business, but I have a couple absolutes. I think a white light and an IR light are on one side of your helmet.
That's why I like those, because they.
Right.
And
So,
on
something like
the
this.
non-weapon, the
Yep,
Enforce has
not-
actually been great.
That's for
Yeah,
that's
the
for,
WMLX, I think.
I need to look around with some white light or some IR energy and not point my gun at everything, because not everything needs a gun pointed at it. More about that.
Show the camera real quick. I was going to show the camera, so you can see. This is the longer version of that light. I think that one is the longer version too. They make a little bit shorter version, but if I'm needing light, I'd rather have overkill than underkill. So.
And then on the other side, again, I like this way this is set up with the exception of this Enforce, because this is how I set up my helmets.
All right. I may have had some advice. At some
Is
point.
a smaller task light that's brighter than the illuminator on your goggles, but not as bright as this work light. But this light should not be IR.
It
This
does.
should
That
be
one
a
does all of
white and a colored light.
Yeah.
Whatever, with no IR. That's just and here's why. I make a conscious decision to use visible light on the right side of my head, and a conscious decision to use IR light on the left side of my head.
them. That makes sense.
That's like I know if I reach up here and start messing with switches, this is going to be IR energy.
That one's on IR. I was going to see what I had that one. I think it's actually set up
But
that
if I'm
way.
looking up here, this
Yeah.
one's going to be visible.
That's what I've got. I got it on red light first.
There you go.
So
Setting up your helmet is a personal choice. Josh has a very well-equipped helmet, well-thought-out helmet. He's defined his requirement. If you come to a TNVC class, you can hear that a lot. Does that sound familiar?
a little bit.
It's on the sticker. You come in a shot?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
you
this year?
see it,
Nice. They actually took some input from you for a sticker.
Actually, it was hilarious. They made a sticker because I was complaining about it one day.
People have probably made lots of stickers from
Yeah,
you,
you
like
see it.
be aware, caution, things like that.
yeah, right.
Those all over the years. Credit to YouTube,
Does
probably.
not play well with others.
Dare, see?
So
men's bathroom, women's bathroom.
So, define your own requirement. Set your helmet up accordingly. Just some tips for young players. We've already discussed white and IR on your non-weapon shouldering side. That's a good TTP to have. Your visible light task light. We were talking at the break about the color. Red's to maintain your night vision. Now, red's going to damage your visible light, your rods and cones.
Really?
Yeah. It affects the rhodopsin and how there's all kinds of nerd science about how your eyes work. I don't understand it, but red's less visible at distance than white. That's why they say, night vision. It's actually so you're not throwing light out.
Enemy did see it.
So but it'll still affect your ability to. It takes 27 minutes for a young adult male to fully adapt their eyes to a fully dark environment.
Gotcha.
27 minutes, and as soon as you have any light, it ruins it, resets the clock. But with goggles, you just click; it's immediate. That's why it's a superpower. Back to this other visible task light. White light's good as the secondary. Joe recommends, and I'd done this for years because I'd seen it, and then it was validated by a SOC-M medic that we know and love. Blue or green are preferable because blood looks black under those colors.
What color were you saying again?
Blue or green.
Blue or green? Okay.
Under red light, blood looks what color, Josh?
Black.
Red.
Well, I didn't hear what you were saying.
Yeah.
You said what color blood is all I heard.
It's like if you write on a map in a red marker and then turn a red light on, you're not going to see the writing on the map.
Yeah, that might be a
It's the same
clue.
spectrum, right?
That might be a clue if you take a class someday.
So
Throw that out there.
Purely as
No.
as an visible admin light, and it's complete for me anyway. It's completely tied to like treating a casualty with the March algorithm, massive hemorrhage, airway, respiration, the C and the H, concussion, and the H. I can't remember what the H is.
No, that makes...
Anyway, so the massive hemorrhage. You're trying to keep the fluid, keep the blood in the body, right?
Right.
You're doing a sweep and you're looking for it, and under visible light, blue or green will show that blood is black.
Okay.
Make sense?
Absolutely.
All these little incremental knowledge drops.
Oh man, yeah, because it's things you don't normally think when you're putting all this stuff together.
Right.
You're like, hey, what side do I want this on?
It's
And
a fire
like,
hose.
Oh, that side's empty.
Right.
that's how most people make their
It's a
decision.
fire hose of information. Helmet-mounted hearing protection, non-helmet-mounted hearing protection. It is a personal choice. At the end of the day, you have to define the requirement that you're filling before you start mounting anything to your helmet, your gun, your belt, your plate carrier, whatever.
Yeah.
Rant over, not complete.
Gotcha. These deals seem useful very often, or what? Like I said,
Strobes.
I've mounted most of the Hellstars on most of my helmets because I like looking like a cool guy. But they also serve some purposes, don't they? No.
Yeah, so like you don't get lit up by aircraft. That's strobes, search and rescue function.
I can tell you where I noticed a good.
IFF function, i.e., there's a platform up here that's looking down there, and I can say, do you see this? Do you see 5 guys with strobes on their helmets? Yes, that's us. Don't drop the bomb on us.
I can give you one example where they actually have helped me in a non-military application, but a hunting application. Thermal nighttime hog hunting.
Mm-hmm.
If you or any of your friends are using these, usually when you approach the group of hogs that are out, say it's in the middle of the field or whatnot, usually you form some sort of line,
Right.
As a shooting line to engage them. Well, you pick
get
up,
IFF.
if you get close, you're
Yeah.
starting to pick up the flash, and you know to stop because in the dark you cannot see the guy standing 3 feet to the left,
Right.
so you don't know where 90 degrees is or not. But if you have these on, I've noticed where I start to see the flash if you're getting closer, and then you're getting out of your shooting lane, and you need to stop so you don't end up getting too close to somebody. But that's where I've used a map
The
before.
strobe generally serves as a identify friend or foe, and it's not purely a military function. Search and rescue. You fall into the ocean, you've got one of these on your life vest or on your crash helmet or whatever. These particular strobes, the old MS-2000, the Hellstar 5s and 6s, the S&S Mantas, they are...
Is it Core Survival that makes those?
Core Survival makes
yeah,
these.
the Hellstars. Yeah.
Is the Hellstar.
I've got, I think, 2 different models. This is a black one. It's rounder for some reason, so I don't know if it's a different gen
It
or
is.
what. Okay.
It is. This is an older gen.
The rounders are older? Okay. Then.
And these are programmable. There's a million models. Don't ask me to list them out.
Man, they are. I've looked at the list when I ordered them, and it's hard for me to figure out. So I started to think what's most practical for my application, which normally is either training for
Flash,
this or hog hunting.
constant, color, IR. For the average Earth person, that's all you need. The programmable functions are for the same reasons you can program certain pulse rates on lasers. It's unit specific.
Gotcha.
I.e., if I'm
yours is a
doing
3
command and
dash,
control of 100 fucking dudes, but there's 4 other dudes that have another pulse rate, I can see where they are. I can tell it because guess what? This is not ITAR controlled. The bad guys have these too.
Okay. Yeah.
Goggles are ITAR controlled. International trade.
That means don't sell them to
Trade and Arms Act.
to Tom over in China, because Tom doesn't probably, or Tom that lives in California that's addresses in China that
but a lot of
gets you in trouble.
A lot of items are not ITAR controlled. This is ITAR controlled because it's technology specific. But strobes are strobes. They all serve their, like the Unity Spark, disposable. I think I've killed one after 3 years of use. They last a long time. They're
we've got a bunch of them here for in store because they are great little cheap thing to throw on there. It gives you the same function as the Hellstar. Not quite as many options, but realistically, like we said, you just don't have as many needs in the world that most of us live in that the little $18 option doesn't solve. So
sometimes the internet will tell you that you don't need strobes. Sometimes the internet will tell you that specs are important. They are, to a certain point. Sometimes the internet will tell you that you're poor if you don't have them all. Sometimes the internet's full of shit.
That's where Joe gets most of his information. But
the internet told me I'm poor. I don't have them all.
Yeah, if you don't have them all. I wish I had one.
Yeah,
I think technically the bank still owns all mine. So
yeah.
I got a question. So
I wish I had more than I have right now.
I mean, if you got a credit card, dude, we can hook you up.
For the guy that's wanting nighttime capability,
yes.
What are the use cases for night vision versus thermal? Why would you want one or the other or both?
That's a good question.
Why can't we have both?
Because now the Army has that dual system where it's like night vision with thermal outline.
Yeah, fused, and you can get that. And we've probably done it with. This probably be another episode. We talk about E-coding and TAD and all that stuff.
Yeah, that's a lot of.
And the BNVD fused is brand new. It will not be commercially available for probably the next 5 to 10 years. Just like the GPNVG was.
You wouldn't want to pay
just
for it.
Like goggles.
You wouldn't want to pay for it.
It costs more than GPNVGs right now.
That's what you said.
I didn't know how old the GPNVGs were. I thought
those were like
they're took Osama out.
I'm a youngin' though.
That's right. He never wrote a check before he worked here.
So it was an aviation. Remember, most of our night vision it started on the ground, went up into the air.
The GPMGs were aviation.
The Anvis 10.
That almost seems like a bad idea.
No,
for
the Anvis 10.
It's huge trying in a cockpit, man. Have you ever been in a cockpit? They're tiny.
Maybe in your private plane.
Well, yeah, my private plane. Yeah. Still working on one of those.
No, but the cockpit of a Blackhawk is.
I guess maybe a Blackhawk. It's just usually like police cars and everything else. Yeah. All the government, like when you're in something, it's always so compact with machines.
Aviation grade tubes, the ability to see in the dark and fly in the dark was a huge requirement for aviators, Air Force, Army, Navy, whatever. And then as we developed ground systems, the monocle are soft dudes. Everyone's like, well, this is a soft requirement. That's true. Saw binos, saw quads being used in the air, migrated them down to the ground. The Anvis system's designed to break, though. That's a little known fact. You crash your helicopter or your plane, you just want them to break away. So they were more delicate than any other system, but that led to the development of ground ruggedized, fixed and articulating dual tubes, and then finally the Anvis 10 transitioned to the GP.
Is that kind of how most of the technology comes down and goes to the air stuff first, and then it's trickled down?
Started on the ground. Started on the ground.
Okay.
World War II in Korea. That's us and the Germans. The Germans first, really, the Vampire, and then us, vehicle borne, and we used some rifle mounted stuff. It looks like a giant Ghostbusters gun.
Yeah.
Into Vietnam, and then when aviators were like, we'd like to see better in the dark too, and not flying to trees and mountains and shit.
Yeah, it helps.
And then that helped drive the development because you're flying faster, you got to be able to see better. So it's just this kind of sine wave of requirements. Start here, and they may change elevation, pun intended, and then someone sees that and they're like, oh, well, I want that back down here. But a lot of it's concurrent development too. They drive.
Okay, so it's not usually. Ground's always getting the leftover after air's got or anything.
And it's generally the fact that it works better in the air absolutely quantifies that it works better on the ground.
Okay.
What binos do for you? Let's talk about that for a minute. If I have a monocular, everyone's like, I have a lack of, I can only see in one eye. I have a lack of depth perception. No, it's a perception of lack of depth perception because you don't have those sets and reps, and your brain is trying to figure out aided eye or this whichever side. In unaided vision, your brain's trying to put it together because we see in stereoscopic vision unless you're blind in one eye. When you put binos in front of your eyes, you immediately have stereoscopic vision in the dark, and
which means you have a left and right.
You have a left and a right. Yeah. That's how depth perception works. If you ever watch your baby,
My mother calls me Calvin. I am your mother now, Calvin.
Learn how to, because it's a learned behavior. It's depth perception. They're going to look for something. They're going to reach up to it until they touch it. Whew, I got it. And over time, that builds. That's what's happening when you only have one aided eye. You got to where is it? Okay, there it is. But with aided eyes, you can just reach out and grab it because your brain, you have a solved solution in your brain already.
Cool.
Comma, enough practice. How do we get to Carnegie Hall? You've heard this in class. You guys don't pay attention.
Training.
So practice. That's how do you get to Carnegie Hall. With enough practice, with a monocle, with a monocular, it solves it too. Your brain gets used to it, and you're like, fuck, and you reach out and grab things all the time.
Cool.
It's people that either don't train or they're new at it that can have some lack of perception.
I've noticed, I've become way more efficient with goggles.
With binos?
Just being able to.
It's like you're seeing right now.
Yeah. Well, I'm just talking about like you're saying, the more you use it, I don't have to think about, it's out of focus, because that's been the biggest deal for me was hunting was the whole idea, because I get guys that want to buy the single one, and then they'll want to be like, well, I want it to go from my head, I want to be able to mount it on my gun, and I'm like, that's great, but that's really not what the PVS 14 was designed for. Yeah, it's like you're designed for, you put a laser on your gun, and you put your gun or your optic on your
weapon
head.
mount for the PVS 14, nerd stuff.
That was my first purchase too, so I'm totally guilty of this.
Was specifically for, I am now in a patrol base behind a machine gun. And being behind a machine gun with a helmet and a goggle on is a pain in the dick. I take it off my helmet and I put it on my gun. So now I'm on a machine gun looking through night vision. And I can engage in the dark with my mounted laser.
Yeah, but you're not going to see
not
real good. You're either your crosshair or your red dot.
Beat it to death.
Yeah.
They're not recoil rated.
Okay. Nobody's really ever mentioned that to me before, but yeah, that makes sense.
So, 5.56 not a big deal, but you put it on one of your artillery, hunting guns, 475 Rigby or some crazy stuff like that, you'll kill it immediately.
Yeah, that makes sense. I know some of the thermals are also recoil rated, but they do better probably than the night vision.
And there's
computer based instead of
clip-ons, the UNS 30, the CNVD-LR, the Knight's PDS 30.
CVND.
Yeah. Those are all recoil rated. They're designed to go on a gun in front of a scope.
Okay.
So they're designed to be there.
So don't buy your $3,000 PVS 14 and go planning on mounting it on a lot because you're either gonna kill it off early, or you're just not gonna be as efficient with it because it's really not designed for that. So
fair.
What do you got in that brown bag over there? That one I think was the whole reason we started to talk today.
I don't know, man.
I've done good. We've got all
blacked
kinds of topics.
I've blacked out since we started talking.
Geeking out. That's what we do. We like to stick
Can I take this out of this bag?
Yeah, that's not mine.
Oh, these are for me? Thanks, Josh. So these are DTNVS.
They are brand new, aren't they?
Brand spanking new. The DTNVS is the progression from, the DTNVG.
This is G.
Yes, the DTNVG.
Sorry, I don't work at TNVC.
The DTNVS grew from this. Same company makes them.
Here, show them. Hold it up.
And if
closer,
you look,
I know we don't have a deal, so you can see it.
If you look, this is the DTNVG. Kind of clunky, still perfectly capable, but large housing. You look at the DTNVS, fully skeletonized, super lightweight. It's probably a third less weight than those.
Yeah, I haven't even picked them up separate. I'm actually comparing them. I don't think I've got a battery. That one doesn't have a battery in it.
It better not.
Yeah, no.
Hey, tips for young players when you're not using them.
No batteries.
When you're storing your goggles, take the battery out.
Yeah. Batteries will kill more probably NVGs than anything.
So, lighter, more streamlined housing, same full articulation, same individual tube shut off, same if you flat brim them, if you run them on your helmet like this and just rotate the pods out of the way, the tubes will shut off. Same PVS 14 housings, PVS 14 optics. L3 tubes. This is a product improvement. This is a Gen 4 4Runner. This is a Gen 5 4Runner. Hope that makes sense. Massive product improvement in weight, and then as with the commensurate.
So weight would be your number one if you were going to say, or there's an improvement, weight, and then what else is it other than just weight? Or is it primarily weight is the difference on these?
Weight, and then weight again. You can install IPD stops, interpupillary distance stops, on the back. You can install a plate here that once you figure out where the pods go in front of your eyes, it'll stop.
Oh, okay. That's handy.
Which is cool.
Yeah, if you're doing it one-handed or something
Yeah,
like
right?
that, yeah.
But what if you put your helmet on crooked? I don't prefer IPD stops.
Okay, well that makes sense too.
Because if I get my helmet on, if I throw it on, I'm in a hurry and I got to
adjust
see in the dark. My helmet could be crooked, and I'm gonna manhandle that shit and get it right until I can get it right. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%.
I'd rather see fast and not have again, non-dogmatic moment. IPD stops are cool if you have defined that as part of your requirement. It's a $300 part too.
There ain't nothing that's parts for night vision is really cheap.
Well,
You
right.
find military.
Well, the nerd is the nerd from Kinetic Consulting.
That is, yeah. We
That's the
didn't
best bang for the buck.
Yeah, if you like your $10,000 and you don't want to have to buy a $10,000 set of NVGs again, this little, how much are these?
$35.
$35.
Yeah.
Can save them all night long.
Ultimately, like writ large, the difference between the DT-NVG and the DT-NVS are weight.
Okay.
In size.
Durability about the same.
Yeah.
Performance-wise, they're about the same.
It's same glass,
tubes.
same image intensification
Same
tubes.
tubes.
It uses the PVS 14 style.
So
accessory.
this was a proprietary switch.
Okay.
And when this housing got designed, and one of the requirements
they went
was
back
that
to the standard.
it's the PVS 14 style switch.
Okay, that's what that looks
which
like.
is kind of a universal adapter on a ton of goggles.
It makes sense, yeah. Go
The
to something that
RNVG,
you
the
can buy
DT-NVS, the
anywhere.
PVS 14, PVS 15s, and they're they really are. It's like the Glock 19. Well, so the PVS 14 is like the Glock 19 of the NVG world. Dual tubes like the DT-NVS, a goggle like this, or like the Manticore, or like the Glock 47. Just as capable, but a little bit more capability.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. What all comes with that? And actually, which exact model? Do we know what exact model these are?
should be.
Do you have it?
DT-NVS.
Yeah, these are from TNVC. Us here at Valor Defense Depot, we're a TNVC dealer, so we order our night vision from them directly. We operate at the same price they do. It's just we offer you a local place to come in and check it out and purchase from if you got any questions.
Spectacular, because most brick and mortar vendors for night vision will drive the price up.
Yeah.
The same price you see on the website is the same price you get here.
Same here.
Yeah, these are DT-NVS. So the DT-NVS, here's some specs, some things to understand about the DT-NVS. Oh, let's talk about image tubes first. All image intensification tubes have auto gain. Auto gain is like the ABS brakes in your truck. You jump on your brakes, they pump faster than you could ever stop your truck. Unless you hit black ice, then they don't work and you're going to slide off the road. Same way with light. With light coming into the tube, what gain does, auto gain, is it interrupts the power supply. It doesn't turn them on and off. It interrupts the power supply so fast you can't see it, but it protects the microchannel plate, much like ABS brakes. Now, if you take a mod light and stick it in there and blast it for 10 minutes, it's like hitting black ice.
What about looking at the sun? Same thing.
Then you might be a Marine.
Thought that was a crayon joke for those guys, but
Well,
It all applies.
there's a whole lot of Marine jokes. So that's auto gain. All image intensification tubes are auto gain. Keep that in mind. Some are manual gain. They have something that's called a pigtail or an EGAC. Don't ask me what that acronym stands for, but we just call it a pigtail. And it plugs into a circuitry, how the switch works, push buttons, turn the knob, turn to something else, that lets you manually dial the brightness up and down. It's like brightness on your TV screen. So if I'm in a high light environment, I could dial the brightness down. But my tubes are still auto gaining, but now I can manually do it too. The DT-NVS, the DT-NVG before it, are auto gain systems. There's no manual gain. Here's where it gets confusing. Acton Black makes, and we build and sell, a DTNVS with manual gain. It has a different style switch that lets you adjust the gain.
Is there a better option? Like, which one's better? 'Cause
I have a
I'm
set-
going to get asked that when we go to sell them.
I have auto gain in my personal goggles are a set of PVS 15s. Those are the ones out on loan. A set of DTNVS with L3 unfilmed white, auto gain, and a pair of Manticores from not Acton Black, Nicorian. Makes those housings, and then we build them. It's a new articulating bino. It's my favorite new housing. It's the shit. But they have manual gain. The only thing is, I never felt under equipped with auto gain. But manual gain lets you physically drive the brightness.
Okay.
If I walk from the dark into the light, a lighter environment, and my image is too bright, but I still want to wear my goggles, turn my gain down. That's what manual gain does for you. If I go from lighter into darker environments, then I turn my gain up.
Right. It'd be great for a guy that's got a lot of time training and stuff like that. So a normal customer that comes in here and he wants to buy a set of binos, what would you probably suggest for them? Right? I mean, is the manual gain probably just fine, or is it probably one of those auto gain? There's one less thing to learn, and unless you have a specific purpose that you need that manual for, it probably isn't going to be.
Again, you got to define your requirement.
Right.
What am I using them for?
Yeah, our average customer, those going to come in wanting these to go hog hunting around. I mean, we're in Oklahoma. You can hog hunt year round.
Now, these bino systems, what's your recommended way for them to go to a helmet?
Oh, that's a game. We never talked about putting them on.
Yeah,
Like what
the
mount?
mounting systems.
What mount?
Because they both got dovetail systems.
Both dovetails. I recommend 3 mounts. This is the mount. Helmet. It's 4 parts. The goggle, the helmet, the shroud,
Most good helmets come
The
with a
shroud.
shroud, but
and the mount. So the mount. Let's talk about the mount.
they're really cheap. Not.
Yeah, they're like $500.
Yeah.
But do you want a $20 part holding your $10,000 investment onto your head?
No, or your one you bought on eBay because you got it for $60,
Because it
and
looks just like
and it
this.
still says Wilcox on it, but it's from eBay for $60. You did buy a $60 mount. It is not the $500 mount.
So the mount interface lets you get ride height and cant and tilt and all that, and front and back and all that shit. I don't think we have time for that.
Yeah, the airsoft quality ones also are not equal. So no matter what somebody tells you, they may be just as good to them. They are not just as good. There's a huge difference in the two that you're using.
They will work until they don't.
Yeah, $10,000 set of MVGs.
Right.
Probably don't want to test it with
gonna be
a
bad.
$500 mount that could have saved them.
So Joe's recommendations. The Wilcox G24 or the G22 or the G11 or the Wilcox
Yeah.
is kind of the Glock 19 of the mount world. There's a reason that use of SOC and SOCOM and all those other it was driven by a requirement.
All my mounts are Wilcox.
They are
and my
intuitive
stuff.
too. Once you learn them, playing with
Right.
them, just the short time I have on them, they're pretty easy to get behind.
And they're usually pretty close to all the same movements, even through the different generations. Some of these are my older, like Gen 1,
So the
G24, and then they got the newer ones, the longer. I think this is a bridge, is what they call it, or something. What is that? Arm?
The arm. This is the sled.
Yeah, okay.
And all the new ones are that
Longer,
length now.
which allows for safety goggles and glasses behind your NVGs because they
Correct.
realized everybody needed to be wearing safety glasses even though you're wearing night vision.
Well, they're not ballistic eye protection.
Right.
So just from a mount perspective, you can expect to pay anywhere from $450 to $600 for a good mount. I have 3 recommendations for you out there in TV land. The Wilcox family, Narotos. Everyone's like, Narotos is junk. That's what I had in the Army. Yeah, that's the Army's Narotos, based on a requirement, based on giving it to 19-year-old booger eaters. It's designed to fucking break.
It wasn't what they necessarily
The
company
Narotos
wanted
Tatum,
to sell. Okay.
aka 2, and the Losto are amazing mounts. Dave.
Yeah.
Dave's got my old Tatum for his goggles.
We've got some.
They're brick made.
We've got some of them here. I think
Yeah, the Lostos.
either one or we sold it. I'm not sure what the last set.
I saw a Losto out there in the case.
Okay, yeah. We stock both.
The third recommendation, and I was just made aware of them. They're hard to get. It's Canadians from CADX. It's called the CAD-M.
Is it Cadex, like the stock manufacturer Cadex?
I don't know. Are they Canadian?
Yeah, I think so. I
Yeah.
think it's the ones that make it was like And back during
So-
when Remington was making that badass bolt gun.
So they arguably make the most secure lockup one, but they're hard to get. It's a distributor thing because it's
in Canada,
made in-
everything's tough to
Yeah,
get in
right.
from Canada.
and they're not for nothing. That's a $600 mount. So those are the three ones that I would recommend.
I didn't know about the third one. So.
TNVC stocks Wilcox and the Naruto's low stow. Several models of Wilcox and the low stow. There's a when it comes to Josh, you mentioned it like buying. I bought this on Amazon or I bought this on the internet.
eBay's the
Or
big one to
eBay.
watch out
Yeah.
for. That Temu and Amazon.
If
would
it
be for-
sounds too good to be true,
Yeah.
particularly with night vision and night vision accessories,
you're not going to find much of it honestly on either of those sites that.
it is too
Are
good
real.
to be true.
Yeah.
This is a real Wilcox G24 for $100. It absolutely is not.
No.
And
Nobody
here's-
sells them that cheap.
And here's
Even the stolen ones, I think, cost more than that.
just another tips for young players. You can order an L3 Harris product, the civilian version of the PEC 15, the APLC. You can order it from Amazon, straight up. It's $1,587 last time I checked. And then you can also order a airsoft one that looks exactly the same.
No difference.
So wait for it. And then, because you're grimy, and what do we determine that the third profession was? Scammers?
Yeah, I don't even want to know
Oh,
where you're
yeah.
going with this.
And
because
then
it's
you
gonna
take
make
the
me
airsoft
partially guilty
one-
to a witness to this. What he's
You
about
take
to
the
say.
airsoft one and you send it back to
For some reason, I knew
L3
he was going to say that.
Classic.
to Amazon, and you get hey man, this didn't fucking work. And you get a refund for it. Wait, it gets worse. And then the Amazon booger eater at whatever distribution center opens it up, puts a battery in it, turns on it, he's like, this is great. Because you sent it back into the L3 packaging,
Oh yeah,
it gets sold again as an L3 product.
and then screws the next guy.
And then
in line.
downstream, now this isn't, can I talk about Mike Arzola?
You can talk about whatever you want. Yeah.
You remember when I broke Mike's heart and told him that his PEC 15 was fake?
I do.
I didn't. I
That
didn't
was
know.
awesome.
You were in here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, that's fake, dude. That's airsoft. And he's like, yeah, I thought he was going to lose his mind. Like, I could tell just by looking at it. So that's what had, the gray market's gray for a reason. You're either going to, if it's too good to be true, you're either getting a fake or it's stolen,
Yeah.
particularly with class 3 lasers, which are controlled items. There's ways individuals can get them. Cops can buy them on department letterhead. They get floated out there. So let's say that you get a full power PEC 15 or a MAL DA or a class 3 regulated laser, and it breaks, and you're not an authorized user of them.
Yeah.
You know, you're not a cop, you're not an
Warranty's
industry
worthless.
Cooked.
and you call them and say, hey, I've got this full power PEC 15. Can I get it serviced? And the guys at L3 Harris go, give us the serial number. And you read off 8675309.
Yeah.
Get
That's,
it?
yeah. No, I didn't. But I'm slow.
Well, you're almost as old as I am.
Yeah.
Eight,
I don't
six,
know,
seven, five,
probably
three,
not.
oh,
I
nine.
look as old as you because I run this place with these
Then
kids.
you got her
but-
number. Anyway,
Yeah.
you read that serial number off, and they're like, oh, that's funny. Which unit are you calling from? And that serial number is from Dam Neck, Virginia. At the very worst thing that's going to happen is it'll get confiscated. The least worst thing.
I was about to say that's the least.
The
worst.
worst thing is, I hope you like paper slippers. All the sex in the shower you can handle, and peanut butter sandwiches, because you've committed some level of crime that
Yeah, because they're over $1,000. So even in most state law,
a full
they're,
power
you
PEC
know,
15
Joker.
Yeah,
is just over $2,000
yeah. So they're all
when you meet
felonies.
the requirement.
Yeah.
Um,
Who regulates the lasers though? Because most people probably don't even realize why they can't buy a full power
Yeah.
laser because they're not a cop, because that's not fair. So
The
Joe,
food-
tell us who regulates
Food
these
and
things.
Drug Administration.
Because that makes
Yeah.
sense.
That was the first one that came to my mind.
Food,
Of
drugs.
course. Yeah.
Why? What were lasers first used for?
I don't know. Again, I'm not probably as old as you think. I
Surgical
am.
tools.
Surgical tools. Well, that makes sense.
So the FDA controls that shit. So because there's a laser emitter in there,
They weren't. I mean,
the FDA, and now it's kind of like the FDA and OSHA, but it's the FDA kind of, and there's a bunch of regulatory guidance for it, and it's the amount of power that's transmitted, and the size of the beam, and the nominal ocular hazard distance
I mean,
is what drives.
it could be worse. They could have gave it to the ATF and we already know how well they handle everything.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, but,
I guess the FDA maybe that's the one break we catch is a deal. That's a scratch. Somebody banged something off my desk. So.
Probably you dropping a gun. Or a pair of
It's
goggles.
all right. None of y'all paid for it, so
It'll be my fault.
yeah.
So yeah, it's managed by the FDA, and for the most part. So here's the thing with Class 1 and Class 3 lasers. It's the illuminator where the difference breaks out. Lasers are lasers are lasers. I mean that you'll be able to throw that laser further than you can positively identify.
Yeah.
Period. Either IR or vis laser. The illuminator is what does it. And when you adjust an illuminator super tight to get further range, at the power that's what they're concerned about is that beam you can do LASIK surgery, not the good kind. You can blind people with it, literally.
You kind of hit on the subject, I guess, since we're into lasers. Is there a particular model that you recommend? I mean, or like which ones are you've seen the better performance out of the civilian market? Not because that's what we sell to mainly. I do sell LE stuff, but
if you've got the money, the mall C1 Plus, but that's a $3,500 laser.
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys.
But if you've got the money, this is again, define your requirement. Remember, we've talked about that. Your budget's part of that requirement. So here's my requirement. Here's my budget. Well, I've got to redefine my requirement. But if I've got
or
this
you
requirement,
can wait and save up and buy once, cry once theory.
and then my budget matches it right away, or I've been disciplined and stopped getting lap dances and cocaine.
Or just sign up some more credit cards. We actually have credit card deal here, so like just
just
holler at us. We'll get you squared away. This guy's not a sales guy here, obviously.
Put yourself into mass debt.
The best performing, again, Joe's opinion, and there's a bunch out there. It's an embarrassment of riches right now. There's some new stuff coming out. Is the Mall C1 Plus from an ergonomics and an emitter perspective, and how they make their illuminators get around the FDA stuff. But it's a $3,500 laser.
I'd second that all day long. I've got two of them, and I've got some of the other ones, and the Mall is right there with my
I've got
actual full
I've got
power
a DA
stuff.
because I work for TNVC and I do military and LE
Can you
stuff.
see a big difference between your DA and your C1?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Because there's a huge difference between my C1 and any other commercial market. And if I compare it to like
With the exception of the D2, I'm going to talk about the D2
Okay,
stuff.
yeah.
So going from high to low, Mall C1 Plus.
This is civilian market again.
Yeah, Class 1 lasers. Immediately available to the civilian market. And then I immediately jump to, and it makes people at the company crazy because there's some Steiner haters at the company. But the Steiner D2, the D-Ball D2, from an illuminator perspective, the only thing that beats it is a Mall. Right?
Yep.
Okay.
It is a powerful illuminator, but it's a big cluster of IR illuminators.
It's big.
It's about the size of a flashlight.
Okay, it's the one that's got the big on the
Yeah, it's got the box and then
It's like a tumor on the side of it.
Yeah, I've actually owned one. I had it on
Yeah.
a 308. It just was so big, I ended up taking it off.
So when a lot of people on that, they're like, it's huge. It's like a Red Bull can hanging on the side of my gun. So's your Mall. A lot of people
Like Mall, though, the way it sits is
yeah. But look at the front of your gun. Don't point your gun at yourself. Look at the front of your gun. There's a difference.
He doesn't teach gun safety very much either.
This is of course after you've met the 4 fundamental firearm safety rules and it's not fucking loaded.
There we go. You can do it once if it is.
First rules to have fun.
So if you do that, if you observe the muzzle of your gun, regardless of the laser, there's a lot of shit on there. You got a light, you got a box laser, you got a
Silencer most likely.
Hopefully
you come and buy a silencer from
it's
us.
about that big of shit that's hanging off your gun, even with a D2. So I used to think that, and then I got a D2, and I was like, that ain't the performance. The dollar for value Steiner D-Ball D2 is probably the best thing cooking for a
price
Class
point
1
are they at? I don't check out.
About
15
to 17, depending on where you get.
Yeah.
Okay.
You've had them in here before.
Yeah, we normally
sold-
try to keep some
yeah.
Steiners in here. Steiners are pretty easy to get a hold of for us. So.
The D-Ball A3 and the from Steiner from a Class 1 perspective, and the ATPLC from L3 Harris, which is the Class 1.
Which I think
PEC
went over
15.
to EO is when EOTech and L3 were together.
Yeah.
That was their deal.
No, but that's all. The EOTech doesn't make that shit anymore.
Yeah, no, that's what I was saying. They've got that new OG or
the
OGL,
OGL,
or OGL, yeah,
which-
on the gun laser.
Which
Which
might
will-
actually come out
Yeah,
because
we'll get one eventually once we
Yeah.
actually
2
are
years from
obtainable.
now.
So
I mean they announced that shit 2 shots ago and they're having production problems. Anyway, it's supposed to be a good MFAL. I just don't have a whole lot of experience with it.
I don't, since
So
they're
from
not
a civilian perspective, I'd recommend those. The Wilcox Raid XE Class 1 has a great illuminator, but Wilcox is B.E. Myers expensive. Their shit fucking costs a lot.
Yeah,
of
I've
money.
had one of theirs, and,
Yeah.
and the problem with I had more than anything, like the price is, I can get past the price.
Mhm.
It's the fact that their cable system is proprietary for their switch is on its own cable, so I couldn't buy any
Yeah.
other switch.
The
to
new
work
gen-
with
It's
it.
rough.
The new gen has a mod. It's a module.
Okay.
Yeah, you had an older gen with
Yeah, I had the
giant-
original XE.
It's garbage. And they immediately changed it. Like 6 months of the first gen, they changed it.
Oh, yeah, nothing
you
worked
can,
with it. It was
now you can
horrible.
remove that plug port and put in a
Okay.
crane style plug port.
Okay, that's the deal. Like
Yeah.
that's the big deal on lasers. Most people don't consider is
Yeah.
how are you going to attach it to your gun, and then how are you going to use it? And if you're not using it with the factory button on top that's on the laser itself, which most people don't, they use some type of switch. If the switch does not fit your
Right.
setup of your gun, if your gun's short, if you have a flashlight there, whatever, completely screwed up the setup that I was particularly trying to use it for. So I ended up, like I said, it was a pretty easy decision to sell that one
Right.
and move it on. But if they've improved that, that's good to hear because I hadn't
The
followed
crane
them since
plug
that.
is kind of the industry standard.
That comes from like DevGru or something like that.
It's just
right?
the crane NSW is like Picatinny Labs. They just develop a bunch of this shit.
Okay.
You know, they're the guy, like someone will go there and be like, I need a gun that's this long and does this, and this, and they'll be like, wow, what about this? And then they'll shop it
A
out.
bunch of engineers
it's like
love
a-
sitting
and we
around
get-
figuring out
And we
how
get
to
the
solve
SIG
this.
Rattler, and we get Picatinny rails, and we get plugs for our. That's where all that shit comes from. Those
I've
are the
got a bunch
labs.
of that, so we can have all kinds of other videos and sitting around here.
I know.
Yeah.
So yes, the new model raids, but they're as expensive, shit, if not more expensive than a Malden.
They're more than the
Plus.
Engol. I know my raid was more than the Engol.
Oh
and more
shit,
than,
we even touched on that.
yeah.
Class 3 lasers, if you can get them, good luck. Hope you don't get screwed out of your warranty, or I hope you're legally
We're
authorized
qualified
to
to be
get
able
them,
to
you know, whatever. Again, I'd go with the Mal DA because it costs less than a fucking Engol. The Engol is a great laser. It's amazing.
It's about the size of a credit card, but
It's
a
about
little
the size
thicker.
of a stack
Yeah.
of credit cards, which is appropriate.
It is. It's really.
But the emitters are
You're gonna
the
need it.
emitters are fucking fabulous. It's got a red visible laser that's the most bright red laser I've ever seen. It's CR123 and AA capable. You just got to change the battery cap. Same NATO switchology, but the size of it is wonderful.
weight
The
too.
ergonomics are the same as any other box laser, though. So I would go with, from a Class 3 perspective,
Mall. Yeah.
Mal DA, then the Engol, and then a full power Raid XE, and then a PEC. I'm super comfortable with PECs. I have a couple of them. It's the laser I used for years in the Army.
That's
So
what
it's like a
most
comfort
people are.
laser.
So everybody comes in asking us for those,
Yeah.
but
It does look pretty good.
And they're just, there's a certain level of, I can do shit with that without even looking at it
Yeah.
and know immediately what I'm doing.
What's important in the dark is the reason you're using a laser.
Right.
Most times you're in the dark. So if you don't know your laser outside of being able to see what the buttons say
Right.
on them,
Which
then
is
it's
what-
pretty much useless.
Which is what makes them all so freaking amazing.
It is. It's my favorite thing.
My thumb's here. Oh, I want more power? I move my thumb forward. Oh, I want less power? I move my thumb back. So there's two buttons, lower power, higher power. And then there's a power slider that it's low in the back and high in the front.
And then
I push it away,
visible, non-visible.
and I pull it back. Yeah, and I turn it one click to IR, and no, one click to Viz, and then one long click to IR. It's the most intuitive and ergonomic laser built. B. Myers broke the mold. And not for nothing, there's nothing that matches the ergonomics. Steiner has a thing coming out called I believe it's the Atlas, don't quote me. I've seen it.
Yeah, we're almost a SHOT Show. It's
pretty fucking cool. You'll see it at SHOT.
Okay, yeah,
It's pretty, like they've got like one prototype out there. I've seen the one.
I'm sure they'll have it then. Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
for like
But it's not available yet.
for PECs, Steiner's stuff where you want a pressure pad is the taps still, or no? Is it the
If you have
What's
a
the
tap,
newest
throw it
Unity?
in the garbage.
what's the newest Unity?
The Axion.
The Axon.
Yeah, that's it.
So and I say this tongue in cheek because I don't have to work. So I say I can say things like, "Yeah, Vic, the fucking taps is garbage." That's a TNVC and Unity collaborative design.
Yeah.
They were really unique though, where you could
But
make like
at
the
the-
buttons do
At
all
the
kinds of things.
time,
you
it
needed.
was
It
fucking
was
cool.
high speed.
It's also this long, and there was no
Yeah,
constant on
You
for
have to have it
your
on a
light.
full length rail if you're going to fit it, for
Your-
sure.
Your white light requires constant on, requires a mechanical switch to stay constant on. did not have a mechanical switch. Unity they now have an Axon, which is what should have been around. I've got one on my MP5.
I got one right here. And I've got lasers and everything.
It's the here. Let me see. Give me that. Thank you.
Oh Christ.
So, can you see this? Okay, there we go. So I've got laser activation on an electric switch here, and white light activation on a mechanical switch. This is probably the most elegant. I'm not going to say
half the size of rail space.
It's a dogmatic moment, and I don't like to. I'm less dogmatic, but this switch. Now they got it working right.
Yeah.
about the first year of the Axon being out there, getting a whole lot of beta testing out of the public.
Yeah.
I broke 4 of them. But this switch is the shape for elegant and simple double tap constant on with my laser. Click to turn my light on.
There's
click
no
to turn
accident
it
in
off.
hitting the wrong button.
I can momentarily do it. It's you can see it's that's the answer. If you need to run a light and a laser switch, and they make them for you've actually got an Engall one. So is this the sync?
Shh, don't tell nobody.
Okay. No, you're good. Whatever. So the Engall has a visible override. So this tape switch runs with IR vis override and light. They make multiple models of this tape switch. They make a light only, and they make a laser only. They make light and laser, and then in the light and laser family,
Make them in black.
They
They
make
make them in
Engall.
tan.
Engall plug, again, proprietary plug. L3 likes to do proprietary shit. Crane style plugs. They actually make a triple lead one for the visible override D-Ball A3s.
Okay.
This is what tape switches always should have been, I think.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I've been happy with those ones because I had some of the old taps, and my problem was I don't like running. I mean, there's not much sense for a 5.56 gun and 16 inches for. I mean, it just isn't for what most I would use a 5.56 round for.
It's
So
going to take up your whole rail.
it did every time, and then I had problems locating a flashlight or anything else, and it was just like the whole rail, and then trying to move my finger back and forth 6 inches from one switch on that to the next switch. So, but no, that was definitely an improvement moving to the Axions. I've enjoyed those a lot more. Axon, that's Axion.
AX.
Axon, yeah, Axon. AXON. So
It hasn't been out that long. It's been out for about 2 years now. And again, I say this tongue in cheek. I know the guys from Unity. A couple good friends of mine work there. But I call them. I'd be like, hey, I didn't pay for this to be a beta tester. It's broken. Well, have you tried this? I'm like, I'm not the guy to talk about troubleshooting lights and lasers. It doesn't fucking work. And they're like, oh shit, send it back in. And they do due diligence. They're like, yeah, it's fucked up.
they can fix it. Yeah.
And they were just failing.
Yeah.
The problem was because it's on a single circuit board. And I don't know how far this goes, but whatever. I don't care. This is what I think I know. There we go.
There we go.
There's the quantifier. The switch is on a single circuit board. This switch and the mechanical switch run on the same circuit. If the circuit fails, then both switches fail.
Mm.
And I think that might have been some of the birthing pains as it came out. But I accepted it. I was like, hey, just troubleshoot it. Can I get a new one? Of course, and Unity's got great customer service. Everyone does. You can't stay alive in this business without having fucking dope customer service.
That's all it comes down to. Just be honest with your customers and take care of them.
And they were like, straight up, they're like, yep, this is jacked up. I'm sending you a new one today. And I got another one. And now I haven't had a single problem with over a year.
That's good.
I try to break gear. I'm either going to break it or get it pregnant. And since I can't, well, not with that attitude anyway, I can't get it speed, I'm going to break it. Like you probably haven't seen me throw guns at the range with
No, I probably haven't seen. No, I've
Ask Tony.
Done retired by the time you started helping out there.
Ask Tony. Well, Tony throws guns all the time. I threw my staccato one time.
Yeah.
And the entire academy class was like, no.
I mean, I've kicked some Noveskis and some other stuff that everybody looked at me like I was crazy. So
you're supposed to be able to. This is a hammer.
If you buy good stuff,
you can do it.
It's supposed to take a beating.
They're supposed to be well made. You're supposed to be able to throw it down a flight of stairs because it's supposed to be built for a 19-year-old booger eater to fall down a cliff and still fight with it. What's this?
This one's probably not one that gets issued to a 19-year-old, but
I think it's a Canic.
Yeah, I didn't.
Canic.
Yeah, we can call it whatever. It's a PSA, I think it says somewhere on there.
No, this is an SR. This is a Knights. This is one of the golden standards. Knights, Jim Hodge, all that shit. These are boutique Gucci guns.
It is.
This is Josh flexing he's richer than Jesus.
They asked about a Unity switch, and I had one
Yeah.
over here on a certain gun. So
These
I
are actually unit guns and special units.
I use Noveski on most of my stuff. When I ran all my classes with you guys, I run a Noveski. This is my backup gun, but like you said, this is kind of a trophy. So it
most assuredly is.
It still gets shot, and I still use it, but I don't take it out and do much with it. It's kind of here to show if a LE agency wants to see like what is the absolute most you can probably spend on a gun. This would be the one I'd probably show them.
Do you need to spend $4,500 on a carbine before accessories?
Oh, hey, hold on. Let me beat you on that. I looked at the gun broker today. $7,000 for this gun.
Okay.
Without anything on it.
No, you
It's
absolutely
ridiculous.
don't.
Yeah, they're not worth that.
Sons of Liberty, Bravo Company Manufacturing, Psionics.
Noveski, I'm Noveski, Geisley.
There's tons of good
These
mid-range.
these are duty fucking guns that are like decades of use, and agencies have been running them forever, and they start around $1,200.
Yeah, they're
This,
nothing.
if again, much like the mall argument, if money's not an option, shit, I'd buy one.
Yeah.
But money is a
NATO death
No,
squad
I didn't,
gun.
man. Just get a credit card.
It's still money. You like, I'm a bad American because I'm debt free.
I did shoot that last time we took it to the range with that night scan. It is very soft. It was one of the softest arrows I've ever shot.
That's good. Well, I think we've hit most of our topics today. I said appreciate Joe. Since you were going to come in here and try to get a deal or work some deal today, so we told you if you were going to work the deal.
I bought
we were definitely going to use
part
you
I
for.
came in here for.
So, okay.
We had to get pimped out.
So
Sad to see.
All right. Well,
Okay.
I think we've covered all the topics. So if you haven't liked our channel, subscribe, like on YouTube, and keep following us. We'll keep putting more content on. We'll bring Joe back probably for some other stuff because it seems like he can talk for an hour about absolutely nothing, and that's what we need to fill some content with. So thanks, Joe.